सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. So we are in the third chapter, but before I go into the verses, I have received two questions mailed to me on WhatsApp. They sent me a couple of questions. I thought they were good questions. I will handle them in the class. One question was regarding the Surya Grahanam tomorrow. If you are looking at it from a purely scientific perspective, then it is one of those things that happens. The moon comes between the sun and the earth, therefore the sun will be eclipsed. No issues. But science also accepts that there are some radiations emitting from the sun at that time, from the corolla of the sun. Because these radiations are emitting from the corolla of the sun, they will advise you not to look at the sun and things like that. Now, astrologically speaking, it has its own implications. Because of the Grahanam, there will be some issues for some people, etc. It's not all bad. For people from Simha Rashi, Mesha Rashi, etc., is also supposed to be very good. Therefore, some people are saying there will be, some astrologers predict that there will be some war-like situation in the country. It's already happening. Some are saying because of this, after the Surya Grahana, the coronavirus will take another dip. So, these are all various predictions by various astrologers. What is the truth? We will know only when we see what is happening after that. Okay? Because as a great philosopher said, prediction of the future is the most difficult of all the mystical arts. I'm sure some of my older students will remember who that great philosopher was. Do any of you guys remember? No? Dumbledore from Harry Potter, okay? That apart, we also used it, such occasions, Ekadashi, Amavasya, etc., or a Grahana, to spend some time in prayer and meditation. So a class is one of the best prayers you can have, because you're dealing with the Surupa of Ishvara. So tomorrow I have a class right in the midst of the Grahan, which I'm going to cover. They'll also say, because of these radiations, don't expose food to those radiations, which is a good thing to do. Don't expose food to that radiation. And don't eat anything during that period of the Grahanam itself. Okay, don't eat. Okay, don't eat. Since the radiations are not very positive. More than that, to fast and spend that time in prayer, puja, etc. That is the whole idea. Then there was a corollary to that question. Why certain foods are avoided during Amavasya, Ekadashi, etc. It's also connected with fasting. Amavasya, Ekadashi also, people fasted. Now, what foods are allowed during fasting? Nothing. Fasting means no food. There is a Nirjala Ekadashi, also called Bhima Ekadashi, where you don't even take water. But the masters thought, no, it's good to drink water to keep the body hydrated. Therefore, water was allowed. Then they made some more concession. They said, no, you can have some tea, coffee, buttermilk, panakam, etc. You can have that. Some liquid things. Then they went one step further and said, well, those who have health issues, etc., acidity, they can't fast. You can have some fruits. Up to this will be considered fasting. If you eat anything more, it is not fasting. Okay? Don't say it is not made of rice, it is made of wheat or rajgira or something like that. Therefore, you can eat it. No. No. Fasting means fasting. Okay? Maximum fruits. Nothing more than that. Nothing more than that. Yeah. Otherwise, it's an excuse of a fast. You don't want to feel good, you are fasted, but you are not really fasted. That is if you are following those things. Since the question came up, I thought I should say, then what food you should eat, this, that, etc. We'll see later when the Gita itself deals with that. Okay? Let us not make Vedanta a matter of the kitchen. This much is fine. Okay? Then another question came up, which is a very beautiful question. If everything is Ishvara, and we are supposed to have Ishvara Arpana Bhava, who am I to offer anything to Ishvara? Because Ishvara is everything, everything is His. That's why the old bhajan says, no? Tera arpana kya laghe mera. That's the right attitude. That attitude is a very beautiful attitude to have for Ishvara Arpanam. That I had misappropriated a few things for myself. Now, O Lord, I recognize all these are yours. That's a great arpana. That's a great sense of surrender. But most human beings cannot do that. Therefore, we say consciously make an offering to Ishvara, Ishvara Arpana. Since most people cannot do that. Otherwise, it will be like that story my teacher used to say. This man, this. My teacher used to say the story that this guy goes, he does his evening puja and then does the arati. The arati says, okay, Tana mana dhana sab tera hai, tera tere arpana prabhu kya laghe mera. Bhagwan is khush. Finally, one character has recognized that all this is mine, not his. Very happy. But then the next day, the next day, the guy goes back. The next day, the guy goes back, does the same puja and says, Tera tere arpana prabhu kya laghe mein, tana mana dhana sab tera hai. Now Bhagavan gets confused. Yesterday the character came and said, Tan man dhan sab tera hai. He has already offered it to me yesterday. How can he offer it again today? What is offered once, you don't offer again. It will be like you have given a gift to somebody. Say your wife, you gave a gift. And then you took it back. So that next day you can give the same gift again. And then next day you take it, then you take it back. Then third day you can give the you'll get a whacking. And you deserve one also. That's not how something is given. So Bhagavan also got a doubt, but then the benefit of doubt is always given to the weaker party. Therefore, he said, okay, benefit of doubt. But today he noted very clearly who is this character. Proper height, weight notes, facial features, all that he noted and kept. Third day, same thing. Tana mana dhana sab tera hai, tera tere arpana prabhu kya lage mera. So Lord Shiva turns to Parvati and says, what is this idiot doing? And Parvati says, Bhule, this is human beings. He is only trying, he can't really offer, but he is trying. So Bhagavan said, Theek hai Baba, khush ho gaya. So similarly, if you recognize everything is Ishvara's, everything stands offered. Ishvara Arpanam is natural for you. If you recognize that all that you can do, think, feel, achieve, everything that you have, all that is Ishvara, then Ishvara Arpana Buddhi is natural. You don't need a separate Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. But remember, this is meant for the student of Vedanta. He doesn't have that Buddhi yet. Therefore, it has to be cultivated through the Karma Yoga, Ishvara Arpana and Prasada Buddhi. Ishvara Arpana with respect to the action, Prasada Buddhi with respect to the result. Therefore, so until you can grow enough to see everything is Ishvara, nothing is mine. I have been given a body for which I am supposed to be a trustee. That's all. I am a trustee of a few things here that I see around me. It came to me by a certain logic. It will go away from me by a certain logic, or I will go away from them one fine day. Yeah, that's all. So that recognition itself is Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. I hope that is clear for everyone. No questions on this? Okay. Please respond, okay, when I ask a question. I am not asking a rhetorical question because I can't see all of you. So I need to know whether you understand or not. Okay. Therefore, we had seen the last verse last time, right? Mukta Sangaha Samachara, etc. Right or wrong? Nobody remembers which verse we did last time? Hello?
We were doing the 14th, sorry.
13th verse we stopped, Swami.
Arey
We
wow.
stopped at 13, Swami.
Ah, good. Okay. Yes. That those who eat without offering to the Lord is a thief, etc., etc., etc.
Yes.
To recognize, yes. To recognize that everything belongs to Ishvara. Yes. Now, in the next few verses, he is talking about the order that is Ishvara. That all that happens here is because of Ishvara. Now, you should remember one thing in this. This language, okay, Mahabharata war was supposed to be roughly 3000 BC, if you go by our calculations, okay, minimum. That means the language is 5000 years old. If you read Shakespeare, which is 400 years old, most people studying English who know English, modern English, will struggle with Shakespeare. Why? Because the language seems so different. It doesn't seem like English. It doesn't seem like English. Okay. So similarly here, okay, the language is the language of those times. Remember that. And he includes the Veda, etc. into it. Therefore, it really is old language. Okay. The 14th verse. Okay. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyat anna sambhavaha yajnat bhavati parjanyah yajna karma samudbhavaha karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahma akshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yajne pratishtitam. Remember, he was talking about the glories of the yajna. Okay? He was talking about the glories of the yajna last time. How yajna buddhya meaning, remember one thing in common is yajna buddhi. Ishvara Arpana and Prasada Buddhi. Okay? That is what that. Therefore, if you do actions with those buddhi, you will eventually get free from karma. This is what he had said. Now, the order is being represented in the same language. Okay? Annat bhavanti bhutani. All living beings are born of food, he says. All living beings are born of food, correct? The essence of food that your parents ate created your body. The food that you eat maintains this body, makes it grow. You are what you eat. as far as the body is concerned. To an extent, your mind also. Some things will intoxicate your mind or overstimulate your nerves, etc. Therefore, annat bhavati bhavanti bhutani. And from where does annam come? Parjanyat annasambhavaha. Without rain, where is annam? Drought in the country means food shortage is the first thing. Water shortage, then food shortage. Therefore, from rain. Yajnat bhavati parjanyaha. Now this is following a religious logic, a Vedic logic, okay? Parjanyaha, rain comes only if there is enough punya in that country. It is some sort of a belief system. Why? Because there are special rituals to be done if there is no rain. And that is verifiable because when you do those rituals, the rain happens. Kariri, etc. There are yagas like that. When you do that, rain happens. I have seen it happening all over the country, even though it was done somewhere in Kerala. Okay. Therefore, he says, what is the result of a yaga? The same result is ashes. What else do you have? In a Homakunda, you did a yaga. You made all those offerings. What is the seen result? All the ashes. Seen result is only ashes. The unseen result is called punya. Just like for an action, there is an unseen intent. The intention behind the action is not seen, it has to be inferred. Let us take, for example, on the road, the local gunda took a knife and stabbed somebody in the stomach. The guy dies. He will be caught and punished for it. In the sterile environment of an operation theatre, a surgeon takes a sharp instrument, even sharper knife, and operates this guy, cuts open the abdomen to remove an infected appendix, and he finds that the appendix has already burst inside and has infected the whole stomach, the whole abdominal cavity. The patient dies on the table. In both cases, a sharp instrument was used and the stomach was cut open, and the result was the death of the other person. But the surgeon walks away free from guilt. He did his best. The other guy will have to pay through the noose around his neck. The local gunda will have to pay through the noose, whereas the surgeon, you will have to pay through your nose. Why? The gunda's intention was to cause damage. The surgeon's intention was to cure. The intention is unseen. So similarly, the Veda says, there is an unseen result as well. The seen result of a yaga is ashes. The unseen result is what you call punya and papa. Now, what is punya and papa? What is the exact translation in English? I don't know. I have been looking for words which will represent them in English, but I have not found them. Don't tell me sin, etc. That has too many other connotations. Papa is a result which in the future will cause you pain. Punya is a result in the future will cause you happy experiences, will give you happy experiences. Therefore, if there is a lot of papa in a general area, we say there has been a lot of sin done in that area, and therefore there is lack of rain because everybody has to suffer a bit. That doesn't mean we don't help them, okay? Of course we will help them. Punya is that experience, that result, because of which we will gain some pleasurable things, happy events. That is a general way of looking at it. Okay? Favorable, unfavorable of all, there are hundreds of words, but they all come close. They are not exact translations. Okay? Therefore, yajnat bhavati parjanya. And from where, how is the yajna done? Yajna karma sambhava. Yajna is born from karma. Yajna is born from action. No? Without action, where is yajna? Okay? Karma is a part of rituals, etc. also. Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi. And karma is born from the Veda, he says. The highest karma possible is born from the Veda. Okay, there's another logic here. This is called Prathama Malla Nyaya. The Nyaya logic of the champion boxer. If you have to be a world champion boxer, you have to earn the right for a match with the world champion, and if you defeat him, you become the world champion. Then there will be a few challenges, other challenges, you have to defend your title against him. To be a world champion boxer, you don't have to fight with every Tom, Dick and Harry in the world. Why? Because if you knock off the reigning champion, you are the champion. Similarly here, if the highest is mentioned, the highest karma you can do is Vedic karma. Other is Laukika karma. It is understood that Laukika karma, etc. is involved. Therefore, he says, Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi. Karma is born from the Veda. Brahma aksharat samudbhavam. And Veda is born from where? From Ishvara himself. Tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yajñe pratishtita. Therefore what? The Veda, etc. is manifest through the action of worship, etc. Now what is he trying to show? Okay. This is 2 verses. Okay. What he is trying to show is that there is a cosmic order at play. The language may be ancient, probably 5,000-year-old language. For Arjuna who listened to it, it's all clear, didn't require any explanation. It's all clear. But for us, let us say here is Ishvara's order at play. So if I ask Ishvara's order and ask you all, point out something in your life which shows Ishvara's order, you will look for some big event happening. No. Ishvara's order is manifest in a cup of tea that you will make. Isn't it? Where did you get the water? From my tap. How did the water come into my tap? From the lakes. Where the water come in the lakes? From the rainwater. Okay. How did the rain come into that place? So we'll talk about the rain belts, wind belts, etc., etc., etc. Southeast monsoon, southwest monsoon, all that we'll talk about. Northeast rain winds, southwest monsoon winds, all that. Now all that is Ishvara's order for you to get a cup of water to make tea, including what human beings have done. Built a reservoir, pumped up the water into the city collection centers, purification centers, from there municipal pipes onto your tap. Hopefully potable. Better boil it. Then you heat the tea, and that water boils at 100 degrees C. That's also Ishvara's order. That these particular type of leaves, which when dried and put into that water, will release a taste and an aroma and some stimulant like caffeine, which I take as I want with tea and milk, etc., the typical Indian way, with milk and sugar, etc. And I feel good. So, in having a cup of tea, and when you sip the tea, the taste buds is part of Ishvara's order. That will go into the stomach is Ishvara's order. That the nose is over the lips. Therefore, when you drink it, you will get the aroma of the tea. Ishvara's order. Can you see Ishvara's order at work? or you can't see it? Can you all see it?
Yes, Swami.
Yes, Swamiji.
Okay. Yeah, I want to respond.
Yes, Swamiji.
Yes. Therefore,
Absolutely.
in that simple thing, Ishvara's order is at work. Therefore, now he says, look at it. Evam pravritam chakram nanuvartiti hayah adhayuhu indriya ramaha mogham partha sajivati. Evam pravartitam chakram. Now look at it. This Ishvara's order is at play. It's like a wheel that's going on. Those who do not follow it, those who abuse it, how will it be abused? You only take from the order, you don't give anything back. I am only a consumer. I am not a giver. With most of us are like that. We are consumers, we will take from the order, you won't give anything back. You won't give anything back. I got it by my work. Let the others work and get it. Oh, those poor immigrants, those poor laborers who are out of job, they are willing to work, there is no job. Can you not help them? I have also had a pay cut. Yeah, correct. You had a pay cut. But you have pay, na? Those characters don't have anything. Of course, many of my students are like that. They have helped a lot of people, I know that. Therefore, that's different. Okay. Therefore, if you don't follow it, he says, Aghayuhu, says. Okay. Aghayuhu. He is living a sinful life, he says. A damaging life. Why? He is only taking. What happens when one cell in your body will take all the nutrients and aggrandize things to itself? You will get a tumor. You will have to exercise it. So don't be a tumor in society. Okay. Don't aggrandize everything for yourself. Share it with people who need it. Aghayuhu Indriya Ramaha. He lives only for pleasures, pleasure oriented, pleasure centered. Mogham Partha Sajivati. He lives in waste. His life is wasted. Why? All he said is about gathering, gathering, gathering. Even his hobbies are like that. Okay, in work, business, he wants to gather companies, this, that, shares, all that thing. Then someone asks him, what about a hobby? Yes, I'll be a collector. Udhar bhi wahi hai. Collect artifacts from all of those. Collect this thing. Aggrandizing. For what? For my own pleasure. So you are living pleasure centered. If you are living pleasure centered, you are the least powerful person in the world. One day I will do that. When the lockdown is over and we can meet, we will have a workshop on what is your center, from which you are functioning, etc. We will see that, because for that I need to see you all face to face and deal with it. It won't happen on a phone when I am recording or on Zoom. It can't happen. I can't see you all. Therefore that won't work. Okay. There is always a limitation to what you can do online. Okay. Therefore, what is he trying to do here? In these last 3 verses, he is talking about as person, how you have to live within the order of Ishvara. Everything in nature is in harmony. The squirrel has a plan for itself. In the forest, there is a squirrel. The squirrel has a plan for itself. The forest has a plan for the squirrel. Both are in harmony. As far as the human beings, since we are supposed to be better up here, we have a plan for ourselves. It is up to us to recognize what is the cosmic plan. How do I fit in? Minimum to recognize. A lot of things are given to me. I am blessed with a lot of things. I will share it with the people around me. As I cannot help being a consumer. Even a sadhu living in the forest, living on bhiksha, on alms, to that extent he is a consumer. In what way are you a giver? In what way are you a giver is important. Yeah. Sadhus are givers, all right. In their prayers for the society, in their teaching, in their blessings, in their wishing well for the society at large. They are givers because you can give only what you have. You have the wisdom, you share the wisdom. You have resources, you share resources. You have time, you share time. You give what you have. You take what you need. You don't aggrandize. What you need can change. What you need, maybe a 5-bedroom house, a Mercedes car, business class travel wherever you go. That's maybe your need, which is fine. If you can afford it, nothing wrong. Somebody else's needs may be less. That's okay. Now, each person has to decide that. Now, I'm not talking about living like a beggar. No, I'm not saying that. What you decide. But make sure that you're also large-hearted enough to share your good, your prosperity with people. That's all he's talking about here. So, as you are a consumer, you also become a giver. It's only after you have done that can you really think in terms of being a seeker, etc. Only then the deeper seeker will emerge out of you. Once you are a giver, you have discovered the joy of giving and you want greater fulfillment, then the seeker is born. The seeker is born. Maybe I'll deal with this in the Guru Purnima talk, I'm not sure. Let us see. I've not yet decided what to talk for Guru Purnima 2 Saturdays down the line, okay? 4th. We'll see that. Because we can't meet live for Guru Purnima. Normally, for the new students in this class, normally we have a live Guru Purnima program where we pay respects to the whole parampara of teachers. We meet live that time, okay? And the older students will share with you that how we have a nice feast also that time, okay? Whether it is a meal feast or a snacky feast, we have that, okay? Yeah, because it's a celebration. And in India, there is no celebration without food. Unfortunately, this time I don't think about 100 of us will be able to allowed to meet live. Therefore, we have to do it online. Okay. Therefore, the feast that you will enjoy will only be the talks that you will hear from 3 of the acharyas present in Bombay. Both of me and 2 of my students who have become teachers in their own right. In their own right, they are teachers. You will hear all of us that day. Okay. The other part of it, the literal feast that we had in terms of food, we will have some other time. Okay, some other time. Yeah. Okay. Then, once you are the giver, etc., the seeker has emerged and you are seeking this knowledge. Now he is presenting the other picture. The picture of whom? Of a self-fulfilled person. Of a fulfilled person. A person who knows the truth. Person who knows the truth. This is not meant for a student. This is the idea the student has of what he can be, not necessarily what he is. Therefore, this is not to be cultivated as an attitude. This is what you discover in terms of knowledge. Okay. Yastu atmaratire vasyat atmatruttascha manavaha atmanyeva yasantushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate. Yastu atmaratihi eva, who revels in himself. What do you revel? Atmaratihi, Atmaramaha. These are the words used in, even in our regional languages we use, no? Atmaramaha. Shapa Rama, you must have all heard. One who revels in food, foodie ityartha. So here, Atmarama, one who revels in himself. Anandoham iti. Atmarama. Atmatraptascha manavaha. Fully satisfied with himself. He doesn't have to sing like the song in my younger days, I will get no satisfaction. He doesn't have to sing. I'm satisfied, okay? Atmatraptascha manavaha. Atmanyeva cha santushtaha. He has found complete contentment, satisfaction in himself. Tasya karyam na vidyate. Swamiji, what should such person do? There is nothing to be done. There is nothing to be done. Swamiji, what is his purpose for living? No purpose. Why? What is the highest purpose you can have? Dharmartha kama moksha, isn't it? Dharma is your purpose in terms of common for everyone. Artha, security, is kama, pleasures. These are most of the purpose for people. Highest is moksha. This guy's got it. Anandoham iti. That Anandoham is moksha. What is left for the person? Nothing left. दुनिया का खेल देखो और क्या है? Enjoy the world. See the play of the world going on. Or what else? This is a play. Help those who can be helped. Help those who want to be helped. Not those who don't want to be helped. Okay, help those who want to be helped. That's it. और क्या है? तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते. The same idea is repeating in the next verse slightly differently. नाइव तस्य कृतेनार्थः ना कृतेन इह कश्चनः न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चिदर्थः व्यपाश्रयः न तस्य कृतेनार्थः. He's got nothing to achieve, nothing to gain from what was done in his life. Because every wise person, you are not born wise, you are born ignorant like any other human being. However great that wise person is now, he was born totally ignorant like everybody else. Okay. Now if you really have to know what it is to be old and wise, you have to be young and stupid first. Okay. If you are not young and stupid and done a few stupid things in your life, you cannot become older and wiser. Okay. Therefore, this wise person also was like that. Therefore, a lot of things he has done, a lot of achievements he may have had. Na kritena artha. He got nothing to gain from those things. Yeah, he might share some of those things if he feels that story will inspire somebody or help somebody. That may he may share. Otherwise, he doesn't even bother talking about it. Yeah. Like I remember when I was taking my first class. Yeah. 35 years ago in Bombay. I was a young man. So this guy was about 20 years older. In the class he says, but Swamiji, you can do all that, you are from Rishikesh. And this class was at SIS college. I said, do you know where I was born? Just no. I said, Dr. Pai's nursing home. Hindu colony. Oh, that is next to my house. I said, yes, next to your house. That's why I'm telling you. Why? If I can do it, so can you. But is the achievement, etc. important for the guy? No, na kritena artha. Acha tha. Been there, done that. You can say that. Yeah. For others, it may have something. Oh, what does he before he became a monk? Oh, he was a big businessman. He sold his Ferrari. Okay. Or what is he? Oh, he was a doctor before. Oh. What was he? He was an engineer. Okay. Oh, he was a mariner. He sailed the 7 seas. Oh, okay. Others may have some value, therefore he may share it. But for himself, na kritena artha, there is nothing compared to what he has now. The knowledge that he has discovered now is nothing, is greater, far, far greater compared to what he has achieved before. There is no comparison itself. Therefore, na tasya kritena artha, na akritena kaschana, nor with what he didn't do. So many dreams I had when I was a young man. Then, what happened? Yeah, I was preparing to join the fighting navy, etc., etc., etc. I wanted to go and die and fight and kill and fight and die for my country. Okay. Then what happened? Oh, when I was planning all that, life happened. I met my teacher, became a wise person, gained this knowledge. By my Guru's grace, I gained this knowledge. So, any regrets? What regrets? As a student, you joyfully gave it up. Na akritena artha. With what you have not done, na artha. No regrets. What have you given up? How can I even talk about what is given up when what I gained is the infinite? When the infinite is the gain, where is what you have given up? Doesn't even come into the question. Na akritena artha. Okay? Na kritena artha, na akritena kaschana. Na cha chasya sarva bhuteshu kaschid artha vyapashraya. Okay? And sarva bhuteshu, among all the people that are there. Okay? He doesn't have to depend upon anybody for anything. The truly independent person is a wise person. But Swamiji, you are dependent on things, no? Yeah, there is a practical dependency. The dependency he is talking about is your emotional dependency. People call me and ask, Swamiji, how do you manage your food? Your maid is not coming, no? No, she's not coming. Just started coming actually a couple of days back. Okay? How did you manage all this 2 months? I cook. You cook? I said, what? Being a wise person, you have to really emotionally dependent on a maid of all people. Practical things, how much does it take to cook? Big deal. Big deal. What do you make? Khichdi? Every day? Every day. Why? So I don't believe in wasting more than 20 minutes for cooking. But what about health, etc.? Don't worry, very healthy. All type of stuff I put into it. All vegetables I put into it. What? Okay. So what type of a khichdi it is? After the lockdown, I'll in groups of 2 and 3s I can make your sample it. But 2 months? I lived for years. 7 years I lived on roti, dal roti. This khichdi is better than that. That is not healthy, at least this is healthy. The idea is there is no emotional dependency on anything. But Swamiji, I know you enjoy good food. Of course I enjoy good food. Who doesn't enjoy good food? Is there anybody listening to me who does not enjoy good food? Nobody, no?
We enjoy Swami.
Yeah, we all enjoy good food. Yeah. I also enjoy. So what's the big deal about it? Are you emotionally dependent on it? On food of all things? If you are, then you are a foodie. Shapa drama. But my students are smart, those who know me for some time. Like I have a student in Jammu. Okay, I don't want to embarrass her by mentioning her name. Once in a while she'll send me some nice rajma or some nice chole. Okay. She knows I make khichdi every day. So something nice for Swami. Okay, she does that. I'm very thankful to her. Okay. Yeah. I have another student who will order a pasta for me once in a while because she knows how much I love cheese. Right? You can enjoy what is there. To enjoy what is there is not a sign of dependency. Dependency is when you are unhappy when it is not there. Therefore he says, this person, na acha sarva bhuteshu kasya artha vyapashaya. He is not emotionally dependent on anyone, on anything. But Swamiji, what about the people you love? Love is unconditional. What's the problem? At any time, there is one person at least in my life who has got upset at certain things I said because I am a teacher. I have to say certain things, point out certain things, and drops out. And I can't reach out to them because they got upset with me. What's the point in me reaching? I do reach out, but I make 1 or 2 efforts, and after that I leave them alone for some time. Say a nice prayer for them. And most of them come back. Some of them don't. I'll say, Lord, you take care of it. I got it. Emotional dependency is not there. Love, affection, care is there. And when they come back, it's like old times again. I'm talking about the people who get upset and walk away. Not people who have walked away because of some other issues. That I've had youngsters sitting in my class. And I love them all very dearly. Then life takes over, so they walk away. But I planted good seeds in them. After 20 years, they come back. I'm very happy to see them. They are also very happy. And we pick up the threads from where we left. Therefore, love, affection, etc. does not mean emotional dependency. That's what he's talking about here. The wise person is not emotionally dependent on anyone. He loves, he cares. His love is unconditional, non-demanding. It's like some of my students who help me with my work sometimes will tell me, one lady is always, Swamiji, you must catch all these students and say, now come on, do this seva for you. When you are organizing such big things like a Vedic Wisdom Festival, etc., get them all to do. I say, I'll mention it in the class. No, it's payback time for all of them. That's for them to recognize. Them to recognize that if such a big thing is to be done, it is good if we can help them. Whatever little way. None of us are so big that we can't help, or too small that we cannot help. It's not like that. No, that is up to them, not for me. I am not emotionally dependent. I will do what I can. My work, after all. My work. Part of Ishvara's plan. If you are a wise person, teach and reach out to fresh people so that they will know. Their level of ignorance in India about this knowledge is so high that people don't know they are ignorant about these things. Therefore, you have to do acts of reaching out. I was blessed because my teacher reached out in public and I came to know about this thing. Therefore, I will do the same thing. If a lot of people help me, hey, you will reach out to a lot of more people. Some people will reach out to a smaller crowd. God's will. Ishvara's will, not mine. Okay? Therefore, this is the idea he is talking about here. Na tasya kritenartha, na akritena kaschana. Okay? Therefore, there is no, you are not judging themselves, You are not judging yourself on the basis of what you have done or not done. Nice question came up on the screen. Can a wise person feel a sense of sadness if a loved one will pass away? Of course you will. This is called drishta sukham, drishta dukkham. You are Ananda, but that Ananda is going through a sorrowful experience. You are Ananda going through a happy experience. It is not because you are Ananda, somebody cracks a joke and you will not smile and you will sit straight like that with a robotic voice and a robotic experience. With a robotic appearance, you will not say you are not Captain Spock from Star Trek. Of course, you will laugh at a joke. You will laugh. You will. Why? Because it's a joke. Somebody has cracked a nice joke here. You naturally will. Yeah. Similarly, somebody comes and tells me, Swamiji, you knew this person, no? My father, this and that. Yeah, he died. Where is birth? Where is death? You think I'm an idiot to say that? Of course I'll feel that empathy. Of course I'll feel that empathetic grief. You are a wise person. That doesn't make you dead to human emotions. You have all the human emotions. You are not limited by them, that's all. You are not limited. You are Ananda, now empathizing and having the grief. I'll share something with you all, okay? I have not shared this in public often. I shared it only with my Guru Bhais and my Guru Bhens. I have not shared this in public. In 1983, we all were part of Chinmaya Mission and we walked away because we had some issues with the trustees and the way it was being run. Therefore, we decided not to create any problems. We just walked away. Sadhu way. Walked out of homes, we can walk out of an organization. Don't create any problem. So at that time when I received the news that Puja Swami Dayanand had left Chinmaya Mission, we are in Rishikesh. I was sitting with another Guru Bhai who was about 10-12 years older than me. Then he turned to me and said, Arey yaar, Puja Swamiji is not there in the organization. What are we doing there? I said, correct, let's go. That's all decision making, okay? Decision making for a sadhu can be instantaneous also. Sometimes you'll give it some time, sometimes can be instantaneous. Then yeah, correct. That's it. Then 2015, my teacher had a samadhi, Mahasamadhi he had. So both of us again, okay, we are buddies, okay, and great friends. Even though we have very different personalities, we are very great friends also. We are there, and he was saying, Puja Swamiji has gone, what are we doing here? Can you imagine the implications? He's saying, Puja Swamiji has gone, what are we doing here? I said, that is true, but we have to step up and be there for the devotees who are in grief, for the junior students who are there. We have to be there for them. So he looked at me and said, maybe. He was half in agreement, but not full in agreement. Within 1 year he went. He also had a samadhi. He must have been in his late 70s, in his 70s, yeah. He was about 12 years older than me, so mid 70s. Yes, he also went in 1 year. You mean to say you don't miss him? Forget that, you think you don't miss your Guru, who's made you what you are. Everything I am, I owe to him. Of course there will be grief. But you will step up. Hey, one generation has gone. Gurudev, Swami Chinmayanji has gone. Puja Swamiji has gone. Akhandanandji has gone. Vidyanandagiri has gone. Tirthaji has gone. Taranandagiri has gone. All these stalwarts have gone. Step up. Be there. Be there. Step up. Step up for the students. Step up for the parampara. Be there. That's how it is. That's how it is. Of course you feel it. You will miss. But a guru's death or a sadhu's death is not for grieving. Not for grieving. Yeah. That's why on the 16th day we have a big feast. Whole of Rishikesh was called for that feast. The feast spread over 2 days. 1 day for all the sadhus, 3,000 sadhus ate there that day. Next day, for anyone from any devotee from the town could walk in and have a feast. Apart from the 1,000 odd people who were staying in the ashram that time. How we stayed, we don't know. Don't ask me. Celebration. Why? Vimuktasya vimuchyate. The one who is already free while living is now freed from his mortal coils as well. Therefore, this is the extent of a wise person's grief. Very superficial. The grief is very superficial. It is just enough to keep him human, not enough to really upset him. Not really enough to upset him. Okay? Therefore, that is what it is, Na kaschit vipashayaha. Swamiji, I also would like to become like that. Good. Here. Start where you are right now. What is that? Tasmat asaktaha satatam karyam karma samacharaha asakto hi acharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. Tasmat, therefore, asaktaha satatam karma karyam karma samachara. Karyam karma. Karyam. What has to be done by you? Done fundamentally because of your responsibilities, your duty. Remember my small article on responsibilities. Your ability to respond to a situation. The situation demands a response. Respond. Karyam karma. Your dharma. What is your dharma in the given situation? Under the stupid agreement in 2008 or earlier by the Congress government, our soldiers were not supposed to carry arms on patrol. Can you imagine that? Such a stupid bloody agreement with China. That won't prevent me from stopping the Chinese from entering. Why? I have my hands, I have my legs, I have my ammo boots. Boots I am wearing. I have sticks and stones and rods. What will prevent me? Karyam karma samachara. Asaktaha san. Detached to the whole thing. How? Ishwararpanam prasada buddhya. Not detachment, no. Can that soldier fight with his hands and legs and kill people by being detached. He has to be involved. Can you detach yourself from a blow in your stomach? Show me how you will detach yourself. And if you really want to experience oriented learning, come and meet me, I will give you a blow. Only using 20% of my power, not more than that. You will be attached to that pain for the next 1 week. Guaranteed. No. Asaktaha means Ishwararpana buddhya, prasada buddhya. Understand this very well. When you are using these words, emotional independence comes from Ishwararpana buddhi and prasada buddhi. Actions are offered to the Lord. Lord, this is what I do. My hands are not tied, but my weapons are not there. But your God-given hands and legs are there. I will do what I can with it. Ishwararpanam. Success or death. Prasadaha. Can you imagine that attitude? If that's the way our soldiers fight? Believe me, I know some of them. I have trained some of them. Okay? They are great in that. Every soldier has this much. Even though he may not be able to spell it out and explain to it, he has that attitude inside. देश के लिए, भगवान के लिए, कर लेगा. जो भी हो गया, मान लेगा. प्रसाद. And many of them, their parents also have that. Their parents also have the same attitude. Like I heard this villager who lost his son in that battle telling, what is the use of having sons if they cannot die for the country? My God. It moved me, I'm telling you. Hats off to that man. Hats off to that. Hats off to that man. Yeah. Our country is safe as long as such people are there on the borders. Okay? Yeah. Not because of all the fat cats sitting in the cities. No. It's because of these people that the country is safe. Okay? Therefore, tasmat asaktam. Satatam karyam karma samacharaha. Asakto yacharan karma. When you do karma in this manner, param prapnoti purushaha, param mokshakhyam prapnoti. He gains. How does he gain it? He gets a mindset that is necessary for knowing the truth. A mind that is independent, a mind that is free, a mind that is powerful, a mind that is clear, a mind that is clear. A mind that is not conditioned by things. A mind that is not victimized by his own likes and dislikes. A mind that's grown up out of all likes and dislikes. A mind that can take anything in its stride. That is what Karma Yoga gives it. Then you expose yourself to the teaching. Along with that, along with the life of Karma Yoga, you expose yourself to the teaching. How can you not gain that knowledge? I will be surprised if people don't gain it. I am not surprised that people gain it. I am surprised that people don't gain it. And I also know why they are not gaining it. That's a different thing. So this is this thing. Okay. This is the greatness of a life of Karma Yoga. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal. And the beauty of it is, if I ask you to do some japa, you'll have to take some time for it. If I ask you to do some yoga asanas, pranayama, etc., you have to find time for it. Samjhi, I'm a busy man, I don't have time for all this sadhana. Karma yogi, bhava, attend one class. Enough. And your whole life, the more busy you are, the better karma yogi you can be. Why? So many occasions for Ishwara Arpanam and Prasada Buddhi. So many occasions available. No, you're busy. Busy means you're doing a lot of things. Therefore, in everything, Ishwara Arpanam, Prasada Buddhi. Ishwara Arpanam, Prasada Buddhi. Great. Individual wealth, Ishwara Arpanam, Prasada Buddhi. You're using your individual will for Ishwara Arpanam and Prasada, both. Without your will, how can you do it? How can you do any action without any will? Then you temper that will with Ishwara Arpanam. You temper that will by saying, I will accept as Prasada. There's a strong will and a strong sense of acceptance, both. That makes you what you are. If you are going only by your will, you will become a control freak in life. If you only go by acceptance, you will be a fatalist in life. Therefore, Ishvara Arpanam. Without puja, there is no prasada. Therefore, Ishvara Arpanam. I will do what I can do. Lord has given me, I will do. Whether it is working in an office or on the battlefield, will is necessary. Ishvara Arpanam. And prasada buddhi. Result, prasada removes all my problems, my negativities, my stress, my strain, my issues, my victimized by my own desires. Gone. In time, I grow out of all of them. I become a person who can reduce all my likes and dislikes to preferences in life. I will prefer it like that, prefer it like that. That's all. I am no more victimized by my own desires. Otherwise, I have to get it. Some of you am driven by my desires. That's the mark of a slave, not the mark of a master. A master has drive. You use your will to have drive. Many people who claim to use their will don't have will. The will is in the hands of the desire. You are driven. You are a donkey. And the desire is flogging you. Yeah. Therefore, action done with Ishvara Arpana Buddhi will refine that will into getting a very healthy will. Not stubborn, pig-headedly, but a strong will. Any questions or clarifications on what that we have done up to now? All clear? Clear, all of you?
Yes, Swami. Yes, Swami.
Good.
Yes, Swami.
Processing.
Yes.
Then think it over. Good place to stop.
Processing.
Okay? Good place to stop. We will meet next week, same